This is what is known as an establishing shot, this looking out over the water here, but also it's used as a shot to put the credits of the writer and the creator and things like that. Look at this scene and you'll see some vertical posts, kind of at an angle and somewhat staggered in distance. They look like fence posts, or maybe something that was there and then was taken down except for the posts. Now, since this is only the second episode, and since the castaways haven't been here very long, I don't really know why they would be putting up a fence. But of course, what really happened is that the film crew just realized they probably wouldn't be noticed. I also noticed in the first season this bent, swayed down palm tree. It's not in seasons 2 and 3. It's not really a mistake. It could be that they cut it down to use for something, or it fell down, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And here we have a close-up of the famous radio. This radio is a Packard Bell AR-851 AM transistor radio. And from what I've been able to find, it is made in Japan and was pretty new at the time they used it in the show, probably from about 1963, 64 or thereabouts. And as David Calderola pointed out, there is an antenna here, which you don't have an external adjustable antenna for an AM radio. You do on an FM radio. AM radios have a small internal fixed coil antenna, so I'm sure this one here was just added to the radio as a prop enhancement. You'll also notice the little KC to the right of the 16. This stood for kilocycles. Older radios measured in kilocycles, and now they are in kilohertz. This is a case more than likely of having indoor hut sets and outdoor hut sets. If you look at the door on the outside of the hut in this establishing shot, which is supposed to be the community hut at this point, I'm going to flip this outside hut door horizontally so that we're comparing left to left and right to right when I make these door comparisons. And then we look at the inside of this door. There are several things here that I'll point out that you can see it's two different doors. So they have one they use for inside and one for outside shots, and the doors don't match on this. This one's kind of a mystery to me. Maybe somebody has an idea on what this might be. Look in the background, you can see this object that looks like it's castaway made, so to speak. I don't know if it's a prop that they left there and it's in view, or I suppose it could be that the castaways built something back there. Notice in this scene where Gilligan accidentally chops the log in half, which later turns out to be lucky, you can see a mark where the prop log was previously broken or cut and put back together, so when Gilligan chops at it, it will break easily. Here's our first example of a microphone boom shadow in this shot right over Gilligan's head. And just after that, we see a reflector light being positioned up, probably to light Gilligan's face a little more. That's a common practice. And then either that or some other light or piece of equipment must have distracted Gilligan, because you see him look up here past the upper limit of the hut wall. This is a good example of production efficiency. The same hut door is used in the professor's hut, the girls' hut, and the Howell's hut. And I'll put these up to show you how I know that. Now in the Howell's hut, there's a little more greenery at the top, so I can't find those comparisons as well. I always thought it was a little unusual in this circumstance that the professor got mad at Gilligan for removing one little palm frond and his whole hut ends up falling down. The professor should actually be grateful, because if that's all it took to knock the whole thing down, there's no way he could have ever survived the storm. It seems to me more needed to be done on this scene. Mary Ann says that she's burning some fudge, but when Gilligan struggles with the door and shakes the hut into pieces and it falls down, inside there is nothing. No hammocks, no stove, and certainly no burned fudge. Here where the hut is shaking and everyone is scared, Mary Ann has a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Then immediately in the next shot, her arm is showing and it's located in a different position. Here's a couple more pretty obvious continuities in this shot. If you see the water canteen, it vibrates off the bench that Ginger is sitting on. And look at how Mrs. Howell is sitting. Then in the next frame, Ginger is drinking from the canteen and Mrs. Howell's arm is in a different position. And in fact, when you watch this whole sequence, this canteen disappears and reappears many times. Here is something I noticed earlier in this episode, and now I see it again, how the water is being rippled off the sides of some of these scenes as though the crew is sitting there rippling it to make it look more active. I can't explain it any other way because the waterfall is to the far right, near to the island, and that would cause ripples. This rippling coming out from this direction on the left here would indicate another source of water, and I could never figure that out. Take a look at this toolbox. We see the rope kind of disheveled and also the hand drill is hanging out over the side, and Ginger is holding some things. Now in the next shot, here's the hand drill laid neatly and properly in the bottom of the toolbox, and the rope is much neater and Gilligan's grip is different on the bar of the box. And then finally, in a split second, everything is out of the box.